morning, everyone. Thank you, Bex. You're doing a lovely job today. So it's the Sunday after Easter, and I recognize that over the last couple of months, and particularly last Sunday, that I've talked a lot about love. Particularly, and last Sunday was talking about loving ourselves. And also Jesus' commandment to love one another. And I realize that as much as I talk about us being love and being in love and expressing love, that I often haven't taken the time to give you suggestions on how that might be, how to express love more fully. And so that's what the 9 ingredients are today, the 9 ingredients in how to be more love. The 9 ingredients comes to us from Paul's first letter to the Corinthians in chapter 13. In his letter, he was replying to the Corinthians who had written him a letter that they were having problems and discord among the members of the church. This is his response to them. I'm going to read it to you initially from the King James Version because the Old English is so eloquent. As I go through the rest of the talk, we will look at more of the New Revised Standard Version wording of it, but this is the King James Version. Though I speak with the tongues of men, of angels, and have not love, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not love, it profiteth me nothing. Love suffereth long and is kind. Love envieth not. Love vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemingly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in truth, beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Love never faileth, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. And now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. And now abideth faith, hope, and love. These 3, but the greatest of these is love. The notes that I'm going to share with you today about the 9 ingredients actually was written about in a book that was published over 100 years ago by Henry Drummond. And the title of it was The Greatest Thing in the World. Drummond calls that the spectrum of love. He says, just as you would shine a light through a prism to get a rainbow of colors, Paul shines his love through a prism of his illumined intellect, and it comes out on the other side, broken up into its elements. So there are 9 ingredients. So let's switch over to the New Revised Standard Version wording of it, which is probably more of what you're familiar with. And if you didn't recognize the scripture while I was reading the King James Version, I'm sure you will when I begin to tell you these. Love is patient. Love is patient. Well, don't you ever get impatient with how things might be going or a situation? I notice that when I can just take a breath and be passive about whatever it is going on. Being patient is a passive type of love. It's not being in a hurry to make things happen the way we want them to happen or to force things to happen the way we want them to. It's just a quiet resolve to be in love and being patient with whatever it is we're working on. You know, when I think about opening the church for in-person services in a few weeks and how we may be doing that differently so that we can bring you both in person and online services, you know, a part of me wants to feel overwhelmed by it. But I know that everything is going to turn out just the way it will in perfect ways as I take a breath and just be patient with awaiting how that's going to manifest for us and unfold. I am absolutely sure in my own heart that it is going to unfold in perfectly perfect right order. There is no hurry when we know that God is in charge. We've made our wish known, and now we let go and let God. Love is kind is the second one. Love is kind is the opposite of patient. Love is kind is an active love. It reminded me of random acts of kindness that we have every, is it a month of random, a week? I don't remember. But they have this event called Random Acts of Kindness, but we don't have to wait until that week or that day or that month. Random acts of kindness happen all the time. And that's the active part of love. There's a movie, you know, Ken and I are movie buffs, but there's a movie called Pay It Forward, and it's about the same thing. Someone does something nice for you, and you turn around and pay it forward. It doesn't have to be the same thing, just whatever it is the next person needs. Random acts of kindness, random meaning that we don't always know when we're going to do it. We just do it when we see the need arise. The third ingredient is the ingredient of generosity. Love is not envious or arrogant or rude. Love wants the best for everyone. You know, abundance and goodness in the world is not pie. If you take a slice of it, it doesn't leave less for everyone else. There's enough generosity and abundance in this world to go around for each and every one of us. There is no lack consciousness at all because we know who we truly are as children of God, creators. The fourth ingredient I want to tell you about today, that's from that same scripture, is humility. Love is not boastful. Love does not parade itself and is not puffed up. I read a story earlier this week. I was going to reference it a little bit better this morning, but I couldn't find it. So I'm just going to paraphrase what I remember. But there was a man that was well known in his community and did a lot of work with the community. And one day the community got together and decided to go in on this really nice coat for him. He was so proud of that coat and he wore it everywhere he went. And then one day there was a blizzard outside. And as he stood warmly inside of his home and was looking out his window at the blizzard, he noticed a person walking by, facing the wind, leaning into that blizzard, shivering cold because that person didn't have a coat on. He immediately went and got his prized coat and took it to warm that person facing the blizzard. He never did mention to anyone what had happened to his coat that they had given him. And I guess no one ever asked. But that's what happened. Love does not, the fifth ingredient, love does not behave rudely. So the key word here is courtesy. It does not behave itself unseemingly, is how the King James version of the scripture says. So courtesy, I have been quoting my first Unity minister quite a bit lately, and I want to do that again today because this is what came to my mind when I'm thinking about courteous, and that's being out on the road and how I used to have road rage and could get all built up with how things weren't going my way out on the road. And Jerry taught me that, we can't control what's going on out on the road other than to give each other a blessing, which I've told you all about a number of times, but the way Jerry put it was instead of showing them one finger, you show them two. And when we put peace out into the world, that's our creative essence, our intention, that no matter what is going on, peace, brother. You need to cut in front of me? Peace. I need to cut in front of you? Peace. It's the two-finger answer. The sixth ingredient is unselfishness. Paul writes that it seeks not his own. He does not insist on his own way. Well, that goes back to courtesy, doesn't it? Unselfishness is about not seeking, about getting or having. Unselfishness is selfishness is about giving. We talk so much about giving. I was just talking about random acts of kindness. But when we think about others before we think about ourselves first, that is our unselfishness. Now, I want to take a step back from what I'm saying here to iterate that we all need self-care. And self-care and self-love is what I've been talking about a lot over the last few weeks. So now I'm talking about how to take it out into the world. And that is by putting others first when that is the right thing to do. We'll know in our hearts, we'll know when that right time is and when the right time is for us to self-care. I love the seventh ingredient. It is to have good temper. It is not, as Paul would write, it is not irritable or resentful. It is not easily provoked. Wow. Now, the anger, that irritable or resentful kind of things is an emotion. It comes up as anger. And, as spiritually evolved as we might be, as I might be, I can only speak from my own experience. It still happens to me on occasion. And something will happen and I'll just go, there was an instant this week that I had high expectations of an interaction with a family member, and it didn't go the way I wanted it to. And I got really frustrated. After I was off of the phone, I was a little bit grumpy, and Ken said, are you mad? And I was like, I had to look at it and I was like, no, I don't think I'm mad. I'm just frustrated. And being frustrated was kind of silly because things happen as they happen. I can look at that situation as, oh, I chose it to happen this way. I chose it to happen this way to help me get a better understanding of not having a reaction to what people say or do. Because from the other person's perspective, they certainly didn't think they were doing anything wrong. It was only my expectations of what was going to happen. I guess I was being selfish. And then there again is where the unselfish comes in, just allowing that to be. And once I realized where that emotion was coming from, it was easy to identify it, label it, and let go of it. It was really quite instantaneous once Ken called me on it. Thank you, Ken. The 8th ingredient is guilelessness. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing. It does not rejoice in inequity. Love thinketh no evil. It's like putting a pair of rose-colored glasses. I remember the first time I heard that metaphor in a way to look at the world. But when we put on rose-colored glasses, things take on that rose-colored hue that lightens our world and makes it more colorful and more beautiful. It sees no evil. It hears no evil. And it speaks no evil. So the 9th ingredient of our 9 ingredients are love is sincere, sincerity. It rejoices in truth. So how do you know what the truth is? Is it me? Do I tell you the truth? I can tell you my truth. Is it a book that you read? It may spark some truth within you. Is it the Bible? Is that the truth? No. The truth can only come to you from within you. Now, books and conversations and all of those other things can help you reach your own truth, but they aren't the truth. Only your the truth is the truth. And that is sincerity. So those are the 9 ingredients. Thank you, Paul, for writing your letter to the Corinthians and showing us how we can be more loving. Not just the thought of love or feeling it, but things that we can actually do to be more loving. Benjamin Franklin had a way of learning new habits. And anytime he wanted to learn something new, he would break his category, whatever it was, down into 13 segments. And for each of the 13 segments, he would dedicate a week of time to that segment. He didn't think about the other segments. He would start with the first, and every day he would work toward that one segment of whatever it was he was wanting to learn. The second week, he would completely forget about the first one and move on the second step and work toward that all week, work toward that all week, work toward that all week. And he would do this all the way up until he had 13 segments. At any time, if he didn't feel like he was getting it, he would go back and start the whole process over again. So now I only gave you 9 ingredients, not 13. So I'm going to add 4 more very briefly to give you that 13. Like Benjamin Franklin. So the 4 more extra special ingredients that we can use to be more loving is forgiveness. I love forgiveness. It is my it is one of my favorite things because um, it's for me. It is kind of a selfish action because unforgiveness is only hurting to me. And so forgiveness, even though I forgive someone, it doesn't always last forever. Once I remember the memory again, I may have to forgive again and again and again and again and again. It's an ongoing thing for me anyway. That has been my truth. And hopefully one day it won't be. One day I can forgive and it just be forgiven. The second one is the second or 11th one in our series of 13 would be compassion. And compassion is not having any judgment. Now, I know that Jesus taught us not to judge, but don't we? I can judge. So I can judge all kinds of things, and it doesn't mean it's the worst evil or the best kind of thing. It's about my human nature. But when I can take myself outside of that judgment realm and have the compassion and seeing everybody as living their own life and coming from a place of their own paradigms, their own stories. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a story about who they are and where they come from. And we don't know unless we've walked in their shoes. So non-judgment, which leads to the next one, which is unconditional acceptance. Just like the interaction I was telling you about a few minutes ago, unconditional acceptance of whatever it is that happens. And to think, what if we chose for this to happen? What if, I think we got that from the book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle when we were in the book study. But what if we chose exactly what's happening? Oh, and we're not liking it. There's always some kind of gift, some kind of growth that can come along with that. And the final one is oneness. This one is a biggie because it's the one that takes us out of the head and into our heart. So I invite you right here, right now, to get out of our head and into our heart as I play our April centering song. I am